Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. Ottawa-Alberta pipeline agreement signed. Why BC's Premier is criticizing the energy agreement and calling it a distraction.
We need to make sure that this project doesn't become an energy vampire.
Plus,
they're not going to destroy us with a pipeline. We're going to do what we have to do to protect who we are as First Nations people.
Fierce opposition. Coastal First Nations say no to an oil pipeline to BC's north coast. And
very frustrating that bad policy decisions by the government could damage my business so greatly.
Growing calls to shut down Granville Street's remaining social housing units.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lien Yeung. Prime Minister Mark Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith announced a sweeping new energy deal. It paves the way for a new pipeline to BC's north coast. Both sides say it positions Canada as an energy superpower while still working towards net zero emissions by 2050. Kate McKenna has the details from Ottawa.
It's so nice to see you.
A relationship reset and a sweeping energy deal between two jurisdictions often at odds, Alberta and Canada.
This is Canada working. This is cooperative federalism. This is Canada building with Alberta, building with Canada, building for today, but building very much for the future.
The Prime Minister and Alberta's Premier signed a new memorandum of understanding. Ottawa pledges support for a new oil pipeline to the Pacific.
At the core of the agreement, of course, is a priority to have a pipeline to Asia. That's going to make Canada stronger.
He is willing to work with me and Alberta's government to accomplish that shared goal. And that, my friends, is something that we have not seen from a Canadian Prime Minister in over a decade.
In exchange, Alberta will commit to raising its industrial carbon price, lowering methane emissions, and supporting carbon capture and storage.
The people of Alberta have had the rug pulled out from underneath them too many times to count over the past 10 years. I also know that a new relationship and a new beginning needs a starting point grounded in good faith.
Ottawa will also suspend or drop some Trudeau-era environmental regulations, like the emissions cap, clean electricity regulations, and if a pipeline goes ahead, Ottawa would adjust the tanker ban off of BC. But it's not clear if that will ever happen.
If there's not a private sector component, there won't be a pipeline.
The MOU says any pipeline would need to be built by a private company with Indigenous co-ownership, and First Nations in British Columbia will need to be consulted, though they don't have the option of outright rejecting a pipeline.
I think there are wins for everybody, but that can't happen if we're not all at the table together.
Well, you'll see it in the agreement. There's no mention of veto. I think that there obviously has to be trilateral discussions with British Columbia to find areas of common ground.
One person unhappy with this plan is former Heritage Minister Stephen Guilbeault. He is a lifelong environmental activist, and this afternoon he resigned from cabinet, citing the rolling back of environmental regulations. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Left out of the negotiations, as you heard, of that energy agreement, BC. And getting BC, though, to buy in will be a critical part of any pipeline. But neither the province nor the nation's First Nations were at the negotiating table with Alberta. And as Yasmin Vanea shows us, now there's pushback.
In the port city of Prince Rupert, fierce opposition to a new pipeline.
They're not going to destroy us with a pipeline. We're going to do what we have to do to protect who we are as First Nations people. We're going to stand tall.
While Ottawa's memorandum of understanding with Alberta doesn't say what route the pipeline will take, Premier Danielle Smith has suggested Prince Rupert, about 770 kilometers northwest of Vancouver, would make a good endpoint because of its proximity to Asia.
We've been down this road. We'll go down this road again to ensure that we are heard and understood about what we value on the coast and why we just aren't ever going to accept a pipeline.
The deal opens the door for changes to a law that bans tanker traffic off BC's north coast, an idea sharply rejected by coastal First Nations, who say any oil spills would be catastrophic.
We will not be able to harvest like we do. We'll not be able to maintain the lifestyle that we have on that coast. So for us, it is quite an emotional battle.
British Columbia Premier David Eby, who was left out of the MOU negotiation, says the deal risks taking up too much attention.
With all of the variables that have yet to be fulfilled, no proponent, no route, no money, no First Nation support, that it cannot draw limited federal resources, limited Indigenous governance resources, limited provincial resources away from the real projects.
Other critics say there's no business case for a new pipeline. Instead, capacity could be increased at Trans Mountain, which runs from Edmonton to Burnaby.
There's not enough oil demand to justify building a new pipeline plus using all the existing pipelines. So it doesn't make economic sense. So I think it's highly unlikely this project will ever get built.
Okay, those were all my questions. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nope.
That was Yasmin Vinaya reporting from Prince Rupert. And a pilot is dead after their small plane crashed south of Nanaimo overnight. Police say the incident happened at around 3 in the morning on Thursday. CBC's Claire Palmer was at the scene.
Neighbors in the area said they heard rumbling early this morning, but Tom Palmer, who lives 4 properties away, says he didn't hear anything, or else he would have come to investigate. He says when he went to check out the site later that day that he saw a police presence and debris, twisted metal and some pipes, but nothing he says resembles a plane. Meanwhile, Bill Alder, the president of Sealand Flight Limited, has confirmed that one of the company's Cessna 172 planes went down. It was on a private flight and was involved in the fatal accident. He says police have confirmed that the pilot did not survive. The plane did take off from the Nanaimo airport, and officials with that airport say that they are working with RCMP on the case and won't be commenting further. Police remain on the scene and are continuing to investigate. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Nanaimo.
The provincial government says it's now projecting an $11.2 billion deficit this fiscal year. That's lower than the projected $11.6 billion in its last quarterly report. The latest numbers forecast revenues to be $512 million more, attributed to corporate and personal income taxes. Finance Minister Brenda Bailey says the province is still feeling the pinch from American tariffs, and the government is focusing on new trade partners, major projects, and reducing economic inefficiencies. And Vancouver Mayor Ken Sim, along with area business owners, are again pressuring the province to move SROs away from the Granville Entertainment District. But as Pinky Wong reports, advocates worry the closures will just push people back on the street.
You know, you're keeping this place alive, and you guys have gone through hell.
The mayor says Vancouver's most iconic district has struggled with street disorder for too long.
In Vancouver alone, approximately 600 individuals with the most acute and severe mental health challenges. Individuals who are not only a danger to themselves, but pose a danger to others.
He's asking for new involuntary care beds in the city.
These people who need intensive psychiatric care, involuntary stabilization, and long-term treatment in secure facilities.
Earlier this month, BC's Housing Ministry announced the closure of the Luget SRO by June next year. The Hospitality Vancouver Association has been pushing for the closure of 2 other SROs, including Granville Villa. Just across the street from the Luget is another SRO here on Granville Street. The St. Helens Hotel has 82 units, and the association is also asking for its closure.
The loss of sales due to this constant disruption for me personally is now in 6 figures. And it's also hit the pocketbooks and the livelihood of my staff in a big way. I pay $30,000 a month rent there, but I've received exactly $0 in compensation for the damage and disruption to my business.
The nonprofit that operates 2 of the SROs in the Granville Strip says residents need an alternative place to move to.
Generally, when people get into supportive housing, they stabilize, and we bring services in that allows them to live independently and to have success. Involuntary beds that are being talked about is not likely the solution for replacing supportive housing.
BC's housing minister says their focus is now on relocating 83 residents of the Luget.
We're in active, larger conversations with the mayor and the city on the other 2 SROs.
Conversations that continue to be had as the FIFA World Cup inches closer. Pinky Wong, CBC News, Vancouver.
A Kelowna man accused of killing his estranged wife was sentenced today on charges of uttering threats and strangulation. The judge handed James Plover a 1-year sentence for that incident from 2024. The identity of the victims are covered under a publication ban. The 33-year-old is also facing a first-degree murder charge in relation to an alleged attack this summer on his estranged wife, Bailey McCourt. Outside the courthouse today, McCourt's mother spoke about the grief of losing her daughter.
I raised my child. I brought her into this world. I loved her more than anything in this world.
Plover remains in custody on the first-degree murder charge. He's also charged with dangerous operation of a vehicle causing bodily harm. His next court date is scheduled for mid-January. And hundreds of people attended an anti-extortion public forum held by the VPD Wednesday night. It comes as the number of extortion cases on the Lower Mainland continues to climb.
We don't feel comfortable, and we want to listen how to follow the rules as they will tell us. But I have attended it before, but it's always nice to hear because this is something new every day.
Vancouver has not had any reported extortion cases, but the VPD says some of the businesses allegedly targeted in other cities involve Vancouver residents. And ferry passengers on North Vancouver Island are upset about a temporary vessel change. Last month, BC Ferries downsized the vessels used on that route that serves Port McNeill and Alert Bay. As Marie Zeidler tells us, the smaller ferry means long wait times for some travelers.
I've yet again had to turn around on my vehicle when I was on my way to work.
Youth worker Emily Garriott is exasperated. She's one of many people on North Vancouver Island who use the ferry here as part of their commute.
I was stuck again, so I had to walk on, but I usually need my vehicle for work, so it's very difficult for me to figure out how to navigate my job without my vehicle.
The vessel Garriott is trying to board serves 3 small intertwined communities on North Vancouver Island. There are no reservations on this route, and the ship only runs 6 times a day. Last month, BC Ferries temporarily swapped the Island Aurora for the Quadra Queen II. The smaller vessel can only accommodate half the traffic. That has led to long lineups and frustrated travelers.
That has had a huge impact, and it's just inadequate, and it's frustrating. And I believe tensions are rising.
Like many in the region, local leader Ernest Alfred feels neglected. He says suggestions and feedback for BC Ferries has fallen on deaf ears.
I just feel like maybe we're just not as important.
BC Ferries says its hands are tied. The refit season means other vessels are being worked on, and the Aurora was needed elsewhere. The news is cold comfort to Port McNeill Mayor James Ferny.
And the ferry is the glue that binds us. And to see us being sort of half served for the next 5 months is tough to watch.
BC Ferries says the change will only be in place until spring. It also says this is the last time the region will have to endure the change. Vancouver Island is getting new vessels later this year, and that will mean a dedicated relief vessel for the region. Not good enough for Garriott.
Like, it is the most obvious disrespect to the way of life.
A way of life that's going to include a lot more time and lineups for commuters throughout the region. Marie Zeidler, CBC News, Comox.
And Darius Madavi joins us now with a first look at the weather. How are you, Darius?
I'm great. It's been so long since we've been doing this together.
It has been a little while. Mostly been on morning, so it's nice to be here, filling in for Dan. How are we doing on the weather front? It's going to be nice, I hear?
Yes, that's right. We have a little bit more precipitation moving across the more southern parts of our province, but as we get into the next couple of days, we're drying out. We're, in some places, warming up a little bit before temperatures fall back down again. This is that low pressure system moving just south of the province. It's going to move through Washington State. As it does that, a little bit more snow continues to fall in the southern interior. A few more showers happen on the south coast, but for the most part, we're as wet as we're going to be. We're drying out from this point on. And then if we take a look at our precipitation forecast over the next couple days, pretty dry. We get a fair amount of sunshine. Saturday morning, we may get grazed by a little bit of precipitation, but other than that, Leanne, we're looking pretty pleasant.
Grazed is not bad. Okay, we'll talk to you again. More weather on the way. Thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
A Vancouver summertime tradition will be no more. After the break, we hear some of the backlash to the cancellation of the Celebration of Light fireworks show. Vancouver business owners are reacting to the cancellation of a major Vancouver event. Organizers of the Celebration of Light Fireworks Festival said there isn't enough funding to go on. Mira Baines reports on the impact.
Some businesses are still hoping that Vancouver's marquee summer event can be saved. It's going to be difficult to replace that surge of customers coming to the downtown core. This clothing business near the foot of Davie and Denman has been operating for more than 35 years.
The fireworks nights added together were equivalent to an entire month.
But 1.4 million people attend the three-night event. Arthur's hopes it can be saved. Along Denman Street, news of the festival's demise is causing disappointment.
Usually fireworks give you push for the business, you know what I mean? Where you are behind, you make good business, you know.
I mean, every year they say they're not going to happen, but finally somebody find out, they support them.
The Vancouver Fireworks Festival Society says the event generated more than $265 million in economic activity each year and created millions in provincial tax revenue. It also attracted more than 200,000 tourists to the city. Special dinner cruises for the fireworks are also getting cut.
All 3 charter boats are always guaranteed to sell out every single night for the celebration of light. People are willing to pay a premium for that as well. So is it going to be a little bit of a hit to the pocketbook? For sure it is.
Organizers said the cancellation comes because of rising production costs, an end to federal funding, a dramatic reduction in provincial support, and declining private sector investment. The province did not pledge more money, but says discussions are taking place behind the scenes.
I will be rooting for them, and my minister will continue to be working very closely with them to support solution-oriented conversations.
So far, it seems, Vancouver is living up to its reputation of being a no-fun city. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
You might have heard it there. The cancellation also prompted discussion of one of Vancouver's least flattering or least fun nicknames. Justin McElroy has more on why that name came to be.
The celebration of light, Vancouver's fireworks show. And when it was canceled, the inevitable 3-word phrase.
One thing that I keep hearing all the time since I lived here in Vancouver is the no fun city moniker.
That's right, no fun city. The evil doppelganger of world-class city, No Fun City has been used in newspaper headlines, music videos, podcasts, even a university thesis, as a shorthand for what mass activities this city can or can't support. And when a 35-year-old fireworks show goes up in smoke, the old anxieties return.
When you couple it with cancellations from other events, Canada Day fireworks, we've seen the Mural Fest go under, Dragon Boat is struggling,
At City Hall, councillors were sad to hear the news, but couldn't make any guarantees for its survival. And we've been here before. The event started in 1990, and literally 1 year later, there were already worries about its long-term future, because it was sponsored by cigarette company Benson & Hedges. In the 2000s, the City of Vancouver took a more direct role in the event when Benson pulled out, and for many years, there were stories about its potential demise. All of which is to say never. And the mayor is calling on a familiar local government tactic.
Go to the province and the feds to ask for their support, because they have provided support in the past.
Both the city and festival organizers are calling on the province and federal government to provide more funding. And it is true that the city's contributions for policing and permitting have remained constant, while dollars from higher levels of government have gone down. At this point, though, the province isn't guaranteeing anything.
I think this will be a conversation that we continue to have and continue to encourage partners to come on board.
In the meantime, the possible demise of the fireworks led one councillor to remember a different cancelled summer celebration.
Totally dating myself, but CFest used to be a fantastic event that was sort of family friendly, maybe a little rowdy, but a great celebration of what our city's about.
But CFest was ultimately cancelled, just like IndyCar or New Year's celebrations or other large outdoor events where people gathered, and Vancouver for one night felt just a little more communal. Traditions can come and go, but news like this makes certain labels stick around a lot longer than it takes to get out of the West End on a fireworks night. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
That is snow falling on Whistler Village today as skaters take to the ice while it was mixed with rain down low. Up high, yeah, the white stuff, snow. Darius has your full provincial forecast next. Welcome back. Let's head to today's top story again. Prime Minister Mark Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith have signed a memorandum of understanding supporting a pipeline to the BC coast.
In effect, it creates an energy transition, all aspects of energy, but really sets the stage for an industrial transformation.
The MOU says the pipeline would have to be built by a private company with Indigenous co-ownership, and BC's coastal First Nations would have to be consulted. The pipeline would run from Alberta to the west coast and be shipped to Asian markets. But to do so, Ottawa will suspend the emissions cap, clean electricity regulations, and adjust BC's oil tanker ban. In response, a longtime environmentalist and federal minister resigned from cabinet today. And the Prime Minister's big announcement means that construction on a pipeline extended to BC could start as early as 2029. But as Anis Haidari explains, for that to happen, private industry has to get involved.
The energy industry is reacting positively to this news in a general sense, but this isn't cause for major celebrations yet. This is a sector of the economy that has been calling for increased capacity, calling for increased investments, and calling for different regulation in this country for a long time. So seeing movement in those regards from both the Government of Canada and the Government of Alberta is welcomed by the energy industry.
If you asked any of us in this room 12 months ago whether the Prime Minister of Canada would be in Calgary to sign an MOU that will remove regulatory barriers to energy and related infrastructure development, kickstart the largest CCUS project on the planet, and expand our ability to sell to new markets, no one would have taken that bet.
But at this point, no company has put its hand up to say that it will be constructing a pipeline under that deal. And it is a requirement of this deal that a private company step up to do that. Take a listen to the Prime Minister earlier today.
What if there aren't any private sector proponents? You mentioned them there.
Well, if there's not a private sector proponent, there won't be a pipeline.
It's a short but blunt message from Mark Carney that the private sector has to be involved for a pipeline to be constructed.
If there are some guarantees or cost certainty associated with the pipeline project, I think you could see a private sponsor go forward, but that private sponsor is going to need some guarantees around the cost. I mean, I don't think any private sponsor is going to be prepared to just have a blank check associated with this project.
Whether the money flows is a different question. With lower energy prices than in the past, it may not be economical yet to make this deal. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
3 Calgary police officers have been charged with criminal offenses linked to allegations of sexual misconduct. Calgary's police chief says she is reacting with disappointment and embarrassment. Terry Trembath has the details.
3 Calgary police officers are facing criminal charges. The charges follow 2 separate but connected sexual misconduct investigations. The Police Services Professional Standards Section conducted those investigations. Constable Adam McBride is charged with 4 counts of breach of trust. Police allege he met women through his work and had or attempted to have sexual contact with them on and off duty. McBride resigned this week. His lawyer declined to comment.
Right now, we know that there are 6 victims, and anyone else who believes that they have been dealt with or acted inappropriately by a police officer are encouraged to call the Professional Standards Section.
Constable David Harms is charged with 2 counts of breach of trust. Police accuse him of being aware of McBride's alleged conduct and encouraging or facilitating the encounters. He's now suspended without pay. His lawyer told CBC News he anticipates he will have a strong defense. Constable Tyler Haberstad is facing 1 count of breach of trust and 1 count of distributing an intimate image without consent. Police allege a photograph of a partially naked woman in custody was shared. He's also suspended without pay. His lawyer says he's trying to get more information about the investigation to take next steps. McClellan says the service recognizes an existing power imbalance between the police and the public. She adds sharing this information is one way they are working to gain the public's trust.
There's always something that we can learn. There's always something that we can do better. As were my last comments in my opening remarks, I get what we've got here, and we are striving to do better, and we will do better.
All 3 men are due in court early January. Terry Trembath, CBC News, Calgary.
To Hong Kong now, where more than 90 people have died in a massive high-rise fire. Hundreds more remain missing. As Cameron McIntosh shows us, authorities are scrambling to find ways to prevent another tragedy.
Worst fears confirmed. A grieving woman cries as photos of the dead, pulled from Hong Kong's Wong Fuk Court apartment complex, are posted for identification. I cannot describe my feelings, says Chung, only giving her first name. She's looking for her sister and brother-in-law. As 7 high-rise apartment buildings stand charred, smoldering. The fire's under control as crews struggle to reach higher levels where it's believed residents were trapped.
We will endeavor to effect forcible entry to all the units to ensure that there are no other possible casualties.
The towers were under renovation, draped in massive tarps held up by bamboo scaffolding, which rapidly burned along with foam exterior cladding, engulfing the buildings. Hong Kong Chief Executive John Lee says 3 executives of the company doing the work have been arrested, as authorities vow to ban bamboo scaffolding. This disaster, bigger but strikingly similar to the 2017 London Granville Tower fire that killed 72 people, also blamed on flammable cladding.
Lessons aren't learned unless you apply what you've actually seen.
Surveyor Arnold Tarling is a fire prevention specialist.
We can avoid these catastrophes by building correctly with the correct materials and always asking, is what I'm doing to that building making it more dangerous?
As volunteers accept donations for the now homeless, many likely also lost family, immediate emergency payments of about $1,800 Canadian are being made to each apartment. Wong Sik Kam, displaced by the fire, fears what his firefighter son may find inside on the higher floors. The magnitude of this tragedy, still unknown. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said the 28-point peace plan leaked last week could form the basis for a future agreement with Ukraine, but also signaled little interest in peace negotiations. He says it's pointless to sign documents with Ukrainian leadership, suggesting that Ukraine doesn't have a legitimate government. Putin also said there will be a ceasefire when Kiev withdraws from Ukrainian territory that Russia claims. The original U.S. plan has seen major revisions this week after negotiations with Kiev. And Pope Leo started the first foreign trip of his papacy on Thursday. He arrived in Turkey for a 4-day visit. While in the Muslim-majority country, he is expected to emphasize the importance of building bridges between people of different faiths. Megan Williams has that story.
This is Pope Leo's first trip since he was elected Pope in May, and many observers have been watching to see just where his focus will land on these international trips. On the plane over to Turkey, he talked about the need for there to be more harmony with people from different backgrounds, and in his speech he mentioned the same thing, saying that Turkey was positioned between the East and the West, and geographically, culturally in a position to promote bridges and harmony.
You have an important place in both the present and future of the Mediterranean and of the whole world, above all, by valuing your internal diversity, even before linking Asia with Europe, East with West. This bridge connects Turkey to itself. It combines different parts of the country, making it from within, as it were, crossroads of sensibilities.
He also quoted Pope Francis a couple of times in his speech, talking about the need for a culture of encounter. Again, that speaks to going towards the other people who are different. But he also talked about the world having entered what Pope Francis called World War III fought piecemeal. He is very concerned, as was Pope Francis, about the various wars and conflicts around the world. He urged world leaders to do more to try and stop them. Before he spoke, President Erdogan spoke. He praised Pope Leo for his position on Gaza. The Vatican was one of the first states to recognize the Palestinian state and has been outspoken in trying to find a two-state solution. Megan Williams, CBC News, Vatican City.
Well, 2026 is almost here, if you can believe it. And once again, we will be ringing in the new year across the country right here on CBC. But we want you to be involved. For more on what to look forward to on December 31st, we are joined by the host of the National Cross Country Checkup and his own namesake show, Hannah-Mansing tonight. Ian Hannah-Mansing joins me on set. So nice to have you, Ian. So, Ian, you're going to be hosting this program. What's in the works? How are you going to get Canadians involved?
Yeah, so this is the second time that we have done this coast to coast show. Adrian Arsenault is going to be co-hosting with me. She's kind of taking care of the eastern half of Canada. I'll pick it up in the west. We are doing countdowns in all 6 of Canada's time zones.
Wow.
I don't think there's been a show that's done that before. And we're going to be talking to a lot of ordinary Canadians from place to place to place. And we did that last time. It was really charming. And this time, we want more people to get in touch with us. We got thousands of emails during the show. We'd like to get some emails before the show if somebody's getting married on New Year's Eve and they'd like to have a CBC camera along, or they're setting a world record in the Guinness Book of World Records, and they, stuff like that. We want, or even if it's just a really interesting way that they and their family or their neighborhood are celebrating New Year's Eve, get in touch with us.
Yes, absolutely. That sounds fun. Party 6 times over. And what are some of the things Canadians can look forward to on the show?
Well, last time around, we had the things you might expect, like we were in bars where people were counting down. We were at concerts, but we were also on a ski hill in Saskatchewan. It was really, really cold when the reporter was there. We followed somebody as they got into a sauna. It takes a lot of courage to be in a swimsuit and go into a sauna on live television. It's something he does on New year's Eve. We had a neighborhood gathering. I think it was in Manitoba. Just lots of really interesting things. Our friend Dan Burrett was at the planetarium here.
That's right.
I was at Van Dusen. This time around, I'm going to be in Edmonton.
Oh, so, very fun. And I think Dan will be involved again this year. And any favorite highlights from last year? The sauna guy sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, and I think the idea that these Canadians, it would have been very easy for CBC to do a New York, sort of Times Square North kind of thing. But instead, they didn't. And I wasn't sure it was going to work. It did work. So my favorite thing was just all the different scenes we were in. You know, my least favorite thing is sitting next to you here and suddenly feeling very old and very unkempt.
What are you talking about?
Because you're so together. So anyway.
Oh, my goodness. Ian, you are always too kind. You're fabulous. Canadians are lucky to be able to celebrate with you this New Year's Eve, and we'll all be watching. Thanks for joining us, Ian Hannah-Mansing. A northeastern BC city is about to lay more than 50 kilometers of water hoses along the Alaska Highway. We'll show you how Dawson Creek is dealing with its years-long drought. That story after the break. The city of Dawson Creek in northeast BC is about to lay more than 50 kilometers of water hoses along the Alaska Highway. As our Matt Preprost reports, it's being done to prevent a local water shortage.
Here at the Kaskatna River, just outside Dawson Creek, a mild wet fall has kept the water flowing to roughly 15,000 people who rely on it for their drinking water. However, Agriculture Canada says there's concern northeastern BC is heading into winter with less water than it needs.
It's just inevitable where it's going to get to where the Kaskatna will likely freeze off and we will be fully into reservoirs. We don't know when that will happen, but it'll likely be on the next month or two.
The city declared a state of local emergency in October, and it has the province's support to bring in emergency water from the Peace River here in Taylor this winter.
We are well down that road and process and, getting all the permits ready and just mapping it all out and lining that up so when we do need it, we're ready to go.
The city's plan will lay at least 50 kilometers of temporary hoses along local highways to pull water out of the Peace River just outside of Fort St. John and bring it to Dawson Creek. Pumping could start early in the new year once the city begins drawing down its reservoirs.
Once activated, it will just continuously pump our daily amount. It won't be just, fill the reservoir and shut it off. You can't do that in the middle of winter.
The city continues to push the province to fast-track plans for a permanent pipeline for water to the Peace River, but is still waiting for approvals to get that project going.
We're going to get this through to the finish.
Dober says residents have already cut the city's water use by a third to about 4,000 cubic meters a day. But he says current restrictions will stay in place until at least the spring. Matt Preprost, CBC News, Dawson Creek.
The weather update is brought to you by BC Cancer Foundation. Give today to bring more progress and possibilities to patients and their families. Your donation changes everything.
And Darius Madavi is back with another look at weather, but also, Darius, that story in Dawson Creek, very interesting stuff that they're trying to do there.
That's right, and much needed considering how little precipitation there's been. This is the past 3 months of rainfall data, and again, we don't have it everywhere. This is agricultural data, so for a lot of agricultural areas. But if we zoom into the piece, far below average precipitation over the last 90 days, with Dawson Creek in particular seeing close to none compared to normal. So very bad situation in terms of the ongoing drought conditions. We, of course, don't get drought updates once we get into November anymore, but something to be keeping an eye on. And we will start getting snowpack updates once we get into January. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about Ontario because major snowstorm happening here. This is a big weather event. You can see those lines of snow, those snow squalls coming off Lake Huron. Very high snowfall accumulations happening there. Up in northern Ontario, as of 10 a.m. Eastern time this morning, we already had over 60 millimeters in some areas, and they've continued to get some snowfall through today. In the southern interior, that's BC, down in the south of Ontario, accumulations over 30 centimeters already, and again, more on the way, along with some strong gusty winds that do likely mean that we're going to see some snowfall totals in excess of 50, maybe 60 centimeters by the end of the week. So pretty dramatic situation over there, Leanne. Meanwhile, over here in BC, we're only calming down. We have a little bit more snow coming overnight tonight, but those temperatures, although they stay low through the weekend and into early next week, then we start to see some warmer air breaking in as that cold air moves over further east towards Ontario and Atlantic Canada. So temperatures tomorrow come up a little bit, but then they in the southern interior. They drop in the central interior. And then over the next couple of days, we see them return normal-ish, a little bit below normal in the south. So expect temperatures back down below the freezing mark by the time we get into early next week. In terms of precipitation, we're pretty dry over the next couple of days with not too much to speak of. A brief bout of precipitation does make its way down the coast Saturday morning, so be ready for that. But really nothing more than a drizzle. In terms of the snowfall coming to the mountains, honestly, not that much to speak of. Whistler maybe getting another couple centimeters, even in the Alpine over the next few days. The southeast maybe getting a little bit more than that. And again, a couple flurries in the southeast, maybe the northwest. We may also see a little bit of sunshine there that's not reflected here. And here's our 5-day forecast, Leanne. A few days of mixed skies with that drizzle Saturday morning, and then the drizzle returns early next week.
I saw that transition. We went from the puddle to sunshine.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to need that. We are deep in the throes of November weather here. Okay, thanks for that, Darius.
Thank you.
What's hot and what's not this gift-giving season? We will take you to a Kamloops toy store to find out what should be on your shopping list. That's coming up.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
On Friday, December 5th, start a new holiday tradition at CBC's Make the Season Kind in support of local food banks across BC. Come down to the CBC Outdoor Plaza where we're celebrating all things kind, from karaoke to a 5K run, plus exclusive treats, selfies, and more. For all the details and to find out how you can give, visit cbc.ca/kindbc.
London's 9th annual Gingerbread City exhibition is welcoming guests with a delicious display.
So in terms of the structure itself, it's entirely gingerbread, there's no other support. We use charcoal powder within, so there's 15 teaspoons worth of charcoal powder in total. There's 2 kilograms of treacle, over 1 kilogram of butter, so it's an awful lot of food.
No kidding. The event features 50 gingerbread creations, with each building designed by architects. It features creative spins on many iconic London landmarks like Big Ben. The exhibit runs until January. And as Christmas draws closer, gift shopping will soon be hitting a fever pitch. And if you've got little kids, you have no doubt remember how hotly demanded some items can be. There have been some toy crazes over the last few decades. We take you back now to 1998 during the feverish demand for Furbies.
For weeks now, Furbies, the lovable, computerized, lip-flapping fur balls, have been sold out in stores as fast as they arrived. Oh, you can get a babbling cabbage baby, or quieter Teletubbies, but stores are out of Furbies.
But there are Furbies available. Just check out the local papers. There are dozens for sale, although they do cost a little bit more.
Little more? Look at those prices. $150, $250, $400. Not bad for an item that normally sells for $40. Andrea Cohen says she wrestled a small mob of shoppers for her Furby and doesn't mind turning a profit.
Best offer.
Best offer?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to do with the money?
Buy myself some Christmas presents. Christmas shopping, hopefully, yeah. Yeah.
Now, do you like Furby?
No.
There's one redeeming factor in all these ads. One is for a good cause. Suzanne Mayhew says she's selling 2 uncrated Furbies to help her sister, who's on welfare.
And then I heard about my sister needing a bed for one of her sons who was sleeping on the floor. And I just felt this was just unacceptable. I thought, well, maybe I could make some money off Furby and then give the money to her.
Suzanne says she hopes to raise several $100s from her 2 toys by Christmas Eve. Furby to the rescue. Corey O'Kelly, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now for a little insight into what's popular today is Toy Store owner Vanessa Gamble. She runs Tumbleweed Toys in Kamloops. Nice to see you, Vanessa. So, you know, Labubu was the big trend, I'd say, last year. I think some people still love it. Well, what's the current kind of hot Christmas item?
Definitely, we have some Labubu adjacent type things that are still hugely popular. We're carrying a line called Kim On, and they're very similar to a Labubu. It's a Canadian company that's got these, so it's really nice to support that. These guys are great quality, so their little outfits can come off. We can hang them on the bags. And then we also have like Labubu type things. These little guys are bag charms. Kids love them. They're a surprise box, which is huge as well.
Very cute. And I see you've got an axolotl set up there, and I know my kids are still very into the axolotl.
Absolutely. So axolotl, anything is really, really big right now. We've got craft sets, we've got plush, like anything axolotl is huge. Absolutely.
And, you know, for the parent who's on a budget, what are some of the gifts that you're suggesting for them when they come into the store?
Oh, that's a good one. So anything that we have that's in like the craft category, we have a lot of really good lower priced items, as well as like science kits. Some of the Lego as well is really great. We have a lot of things that are about that $25 to $50 range if parents are looking for that.
And, you know, we talked about, we saw earlier, there was the Furby, and I remember the era of the Tickle Me Elmo, Cabbage Patch Kids. Is there kind of that must-have gift this year?
Well, right now, I think it's a combination. There's a lot of people looking for the Labubu type of toys, and actually, this is a really big one, too.
What is that?
You know what these guys are?
No, do enlighten us.
This is Jellycat. Jellycat brand plush is the hottest plush right now. Usually when we get a shipment in, we post it on our Facebook and our Instagram, and we sell out within a day or two of whatever the newest one is. So these are hugely popular, hard to find. Another thing that's really popular right now that we're selling a lot of, RC cars. We sell a ton of RC cars. So this is kind of a fun little gift. Everyone loves these. We have them in lots of different colors, and kids are.
What do they do? What's unique about these cars?
These ones here, well, they light up. It's an RC car. They can drive it all over the place. You can drive it inside. You can drive it outside. Kids love them.
Oh, okay, very neat. And then any suggestions for stocking stuffers, things like that?
Yeah. So another thing that's really trendy right now is resin animals.
Oh.
Yeah. So like little teeny tiny, I don't know if you can see this on the camera. There's a little teeny tiny duck.
Okay.
And then we have like little teeny tiny fish. And they come in blind bags. So this one here is a surprise blind bag. You don't know what you're going to get. This one here has the ducks specifically. But little resin animals are popular with kids right now. They collect them, put them on their desk, trade them with their friends. So they've been quite a popular thing. And of course, I've been playing with this. Anything squishy has been absolutely huge for us here at the store. These are Neato Nice Cubes. They fly off the shelves.
Very cool. Sounds like even a good one for grown-ups. It's like a de-stressor. All right. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. That's Vanessa Gamble at Tumbleweed Toys and Kamloops. Appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks.
And I appreciate Darius for showing me all of this.
Yeah,
Somebody is a Jellycat fanatic, as I have learned.
Yeah, for the record, I never bought any of these, but I've been gifted a lot of them. But we're out of weather Jellycats, and this is not sponsored. Is there one of these on your list?
You know what? You could put ads out for these. Could be like the Furbies.
Maybe.
Yeah, this has been apparently hard to get, this rainbow one. All right, that's it for us.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, our free app, as well as on YouTube and our website.
And I'll have your next local newscast at 11 o'clock right after the National. Good night.